Looks like Games Workshop are making some retro orcs available again. Fire made to order. Some knobs, a dreadnought, and these lovely 2nd edition Commandos. I suppose this is a good opportunity to talk about these models back in the day, and to finally use some old footage of mine getting a paint job. I'm Matthew, this is Miniscape, and we're talking old Orc Commando miniatures, which will soon be available again via made to order. But before we look ahead to what Games Workshop are giving us, let's go back in time to 1994. Before my time, to be sure. My first step into a Games Workshop wasn't until 1995. But thanks to the power of the internet, eBay, and running this channel, I am able to relive the parts of my youth not realised. The first mention I could find for Blood Axe Commandos was in White Dwarf 176 from 1994. They don't have their own article, but they do have this lovely photo of the miniatures having been painted by the studio team in their classic red pyjamas. The Orcs, I mean. I don't know what the studio team wore at the time. The same picture was also in Codex Orcs, which was released in 1994 as well. Commandos were a branch of the Blood Axe clan, which, as the Codex says, have had the closest contact with the Imperium of all the Orc clans, and have even gone as far as to use camouflage combat gear, sported by these chaps here. You are even given a range of suggestions here for camouflage patterns, which you could use when painting your Commandos. White Dwarf 182 features these models as part of the Orc army in a battle report with Ultramarines and Imperial Guard, and they get another crack at it towards the end of 2nd edition in White Dwarf 213. I am sure they are seen elsewhere, but I'm not trawling through every publication to log their appearances. Come 3rd edition, Commandos do get an entry in the Codex, but no models are shown here. Neither are they seen in this rulebook. I suppose by this post-Gorkamorka stage, Orcs were embracing a more Mad Max, grimdark aesthetic, which the older sculpts just didn't fit in with. Going back to 2nd edition, it's worth noting that Blood Axe Commandos are not mentioned in the Codex army lists which came with the 40k 2nd edition starter set at the time, though Blood Axe mobs are mentioned. In Codex Orcs, both units get a mention. The Commandos get a few paragraphs of lore, mentioning that rather than just getting stuck in with the lads, they would actually try to come up with a plan before the battle, and even a long-term strategy for a campaign, which of course the other clans found pretty strange. Their special rules are infiltration and disperse formation. Infiltration just means that the unit can deploy after the enemy and can deploy anywhere in the battle zone as long as they are out of sight. Disperse formation allowed squad coherency to be 4 inches rather than 2 inches, allowing for more flexible squad movement and a greater chance of avoiding being splattered by a demolisher cannon or frag missile, for instance. Commandos had a slightly better profile than regular boys, having an additional pip on weapon skill, ballistic skill and initiative. Only one unit could be taken per army, and could consist of 5 to 20 models at 14 points per model. Basic war gear was a bolt pistol, axe, and frag stick bombs. And yes, in this era, Orcs shared several weapons with the Imperium, such as bolt pistols. Commandos didn't have great protection though, their red PJs only conferring a 6+ save. For an additional point, they could replace a bolt pistol with a bolter, and for 6 extra points, replace their axe with a power axe. So yes, that could be a huge number of power axes in one unit. Any model may take additional war gear from the assault and stick bomb section of the war gear list, and one lad can take either a special or heavy weapon. Largely, the non-commando Blood Axes had similar war gear choices, minus the power axes, but they were necessary if you wanted to unlock taking Imperial support weapons and Imperial vehicles. I mean, looted vehicles really, because Blood Axes could loot any Imperial vehicle, rhinos, land raiders, predators, Lehman Russ demolishers, you name it. The rules state that these must be painted in Blood Axe colours, which is reasonable according to the law, but a bit of a harsh prerequisite to insist on for your opponent. Unless you're that guy. And just so you know, if you were my opponent, I would not insist on such colours, which is something to bear in mind if you ever fancy a game of 2nd edition. Wink. So that's Commandos rules in 2nd edition Codex. And now, since the jazz music is playing, it must be time to paint something. Disclaimer, I recorded this footage in October last year on my old camera, so this is my excuse for the drop in quality. There were 6 different sculpts as shown here, and each model was one piece only, requiring no assembly. I'm painting the lad with the eye, who looks like the leader to me, but I painted each one of these in the same way. Disclaimer 2, this is a minimal tutorial. In fact, calling it a tutorial is a stretch. It's just what I did at the time, take it or leave it. So starting with the white prime, I apply some contrast Gutrippa flesh on the face and hands, since this is the only skin showing. I painted these during October 2023, and my ambitions as usual far exceeded my ability. Even though I am no stranger to the brush, let's just say on this occasion, I chose speed rather than style. Anyway, this is a lovely green contrast paint, liquid talon you could say. Next, I applied some Baal red contrast paint to his clothing and his bolt pistol. It's a lovely vibrant paint that goes on buttery smooth. Perfect for this non-camouflaging camo ridiculous colour scheme. And if this part of 40k is too ridiculous for me, then I guess I'm enjoying the wrong universe. With that colour blocked in, it's time for the black. I thinned it down with a little water and applied it to the boots, the binoculars, the axe, and some parts of the bolt pistol. This is followed by a coat of army painter gunmetal on the axe blade, and the bolt pistol barrel, and anywhere else that I wanted to be metallic. With this golden yellow, I painted the backpack, followed by a wash of Reikland Fleshshade. Now to tackle some details on the face. I wanted the teeth brown before I lightened them with a lighter colour paint, and looking at this old footage, I can't recall which paint I used, but it was probably tan earth. While that dried, I painted any leather parts with Vallejo flat earth. On the backpacks, the Orcs have these panels for their clan badges, or for pins of their favourite bands. I painted this black at this stage. And with some light grey, I picked out some details on his beanie hat. With the same colour, I dry brushed the shoes for some simple highlights. And it's times like this I wonder what past me was thinking. I smashed the undo button hard on the skin, washing it with a darker green first, and then bringing back the lighter green by painting it with Skarsnik green, and finally highlighting the raised parts with a mix of Skarsnik green and dark sand. I should have done this to begin with, or just stuck with the original colour. Never mind, that's what drinking Nuln Oil does to you. I sometimes like to paint the lips a different colour. My preference is Screamer Pink, followed by some Barbarian flesh. The power cable on the axe was painted Macragge blue, followed by a highlight of Lothern blue. I did the same on the bionic eye. Off camera, I painted 2 white axes on the backpack badge panel. Also off camera, I highlighted the blade edge with Fenrisian Grey. For the base, I painted a brown texture paint on the top, and highlighted it with dark sand, and finally painted the rim Goblin green by Army Painter. I could have done it all Goblin green, but sometimes I like to vary these miniatures a bit. And here's the Commandos with his mates, painted in the same lazy method. Comparing this with the Codex picture, I've clearly missed the camo pattern off the red pyjamas, but whatever. They are table ready, and that's enough. Painted with 2nd edition retro vibes to boot. Of course, Commandos have had other miniature releases over the years. 2006 saw the release of these models in metal, having a more familiar grimdark aesthetic. I have the knob from this set. I lost the original head, so I made him a new one with a spare and some green stuff for a hat. I love this little grot on the back, it just adds so much character to the model. These miniatures carry the baton until 2021's plastic release for Kill Team and 40k. I even have some of them here, significantly larger than the old 2nd edition ones, a product of a completely different era. In the recent Warhammer community article, these Commandos are on 32mm bases, painted brown, which of course has not always been the case, but most Orcs have been on 32s in recent editions of 40k, so I guess this makes sense. But base them however you like, they're your miniatures. Play one-page rules or any edition of 40k, it's your hobby. I guess I should mention the other made-to-order releases. There's the Metal Dreadnought from end of 3rd edition, and the Metal Nubs. I guess these have less nostalgia for me, although I do have the Dreadnought already, painted to match the rest of my contemporary Orc force. So, is anyone here tempted to pre-order any of these miniatures? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, I hope you found this video informative, or entertaining, or maybe both. If you just discovered my channel, welcome! I focus mostly on older 40k models, in my own calm and light-hearted idiom. If that's something you're interested in, then please do check out my other content. And if you like what I do, then please check out my Instagram. And with that, I had better go paint some more minis. Take care, and thanks for watching.